Kevin, it's so good to see you, brother.
Good to see you too, man.
Man,
It actually hasn't been that long since we've seen each other, which has been nice.
I know, I know. It's been very
Yeah.
nice. So,
And we had breakfast at your house, and can I just say the bacon was incredible.
oh
It
yeah,
was 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. We may come back just for the bacon. So I don't know
nice.
what y'all are doing over there, but it was good
That's
stuff.
that's a real compliment coming from somebody who lives in Tennessee, and I'm in
Well, yeah.
Texas. So,
Well, yeah,
it's,
absolutely. Well, everything's better in Texas. I mean, I have no pride about, that rivalry. I'm happy to I'm happy to take second place. I mean, we don't have Tennessee state flags in our, on every green on every golf course, you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
but you play golf in Texas, that's what you're going to see. You're going to see the flag on the golf cart and the hole in the green. You're going to, see it on the license plate, I
yep,
mean, everybody's really proud of that state over there. So
yeah.
you can have the better bacon. I'll give it to you.
Well, the Southeast is really good when it comes to bacon. The whole section of the country. I'm glad.
And barbecue too, even though Memphis wants to, take your top spot, but
Memphis, Kansas City, and Texas. I don't if they all did brisket, you might have an equal comparison. But Memphis is
yeah.
all pig, and Kansas City's kind of chicken and pig, and I don't know what all they do there. Sweet sauces. But Texas has that barbecue, that brisket. Oh, can't believe how good it
See,
is.
I live on the road most of the time, and so my my expectations are low.
Yeah,
I just want something good.
right.
So like brisket, I love brisket, and I will Memphis, Texas, Kansas City, it doesn't matter. Give it to me. I'm sure it's gonna be good.
Well, hopefully you can keep eating healthy because need to keep you out there, man. You're doing a good job.
Trying Cocoa
Yeah.
Krispies for breakfast this morning. I don't know if that's good enough. I need to make a change. We'll see.
Yeah. So, what led to collaborating with Decipher Down, and what was that experience like?
Oh man, we love TJ so much. We've been playing with Decipher Down since before he was in the band, and we had our Skeleton Psalms album come out a couple years ago, and when we were doing this deluxe edition, we were just trying to think of interesting things that we could do. So we had four new songs that were written, and I think there was a remix that we're doing, and then we had some live tracks that we were going to put on this thing, and we were like, what's another cool thing that we could do? And we started talking about this song that we have, Resurrecting Reasons, which is the style of the song. I was like, that would really fit TJ's voice really well. And it was just a good idea,
Hmm.
but we didn't realize how good of an idea it was until we heard his voice on it. I mean, it was like made for him, it's got that really bluesy, grungy ballad type feel that where he can do all of these southern rock blues runs, which his voice is just God made his voice for those types of things. And so he took a good song, what we thought was one of our better songs we've ever done, and turned it into one of the best songs we've ever done. Like his voice just elevated it. And so I can't wait for people to hear it because we've always been a fan of his and just his type of singing. He's just
Hmm.
such a good singer. And yeah, he shows it off on this song really well. It's really great.
Very awesome. I agree. Man, the lyrics, I keep murdering your mercy from my memory. You keep resurrection reasons. You keep resurrecting Jesus in me. And that line about I'm in hell and you're here with me. Wow. Those are some intense lyrics.
Thank you. Have you heard it yet, or you just know that, or just reading the lyrics? Have you heard
I've
it yet?
heard it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's so relatable to hear a song or poetry when someone is writing from experience. And if you care to share with us some of the how dark the dark times were and tell us how you were restored.
Yeah. Well, it was a long process, and and I guess that's kind of the way it is with God, kind of takes you step by step. And some of the songs that you write, especially with the guys, in the band, they're so much more talented than me, and we'll write 10 different versions of the song. We'll write it, and just keep making it better, keep making it better. This song was written, and I just was downstairs with a guitar, wrote it, made a voice memo, and then that was it. There's no there was no revision, there was no whatever. It was just that was what it was from day one. And that
Wow.
never happens. And I think that's happened, two handfuls of times over our career. And I think that's just kind of like whenever that was what was in my heart, that was what was real. This was just like what I was walking through, what I was feeling. And I think that was living a double life for so many years with really in love with Jesus, but no fear or respect or honor for um like the fear of the Lord at the beginning of wisdom, and kind of like I, I would say just an abuse of his grace, just knowing how much he loves me, knowing how much he cares about me, know that mentality of whatever happens on Friday and Saturday, he's going to forgive me on Sunday. And you know you can get away with that maybe a couple weekends, but after years of it, it starts to catch up to you, and you realize that God doesn't, yes, he does forgive you. Of course he does, but he doesn't remove the consequences. And I think that anybody who lives that way, it eventually catches up to you. And there was just a moment where my skeletons came marching out of the closet, and I had to be honest with what I'd become. I had to be honest with my friends. I had to be honest with my band. I'd be honest with my family. And it ultimately was a really, really good thing. And from that place of desperation and that place of rock bottom, um, that's where this song came from. Was just like, when you really blow it as a Christian, you really make mistakes as a Christian, you kind of, you feel like the gospel's not for you anymore. And I really feel like God's given me an amazing testimony for this, because I think my story is not very dissimilar to a lot of people's. That when you really blow it as a Christian, you want to give up, and you kind of want to run away and hide, and definitely don't want to talk to anybody about it. Definitely don't want to get help for anything. Definitely don't want to go to counseling or 12-step programs or anything, because it's embarrassing, And but then when you finally get to that place where you just don't care what anybody thinks about it anymore, and you just want to chase Jesus, and you just want to chase righteousness, and that fear of the Lord is the beginning. It's the starting place, the beginning of wisdom, not the middle, not the end. It's like that's where you start. And like literally like him coming to you going, hey, this is what I need you to do. And just to wrap it up, I really came to a place where God was just like asking me these questions. It's like, do you think that I love you? And it's like, yes. It's like, do you think you can trust me? Yes. Okay. Then this is what I want you to do. I'm like, but that's hard. And he's like, well, that's why I've given you these promises. Like, you can do all things through me. So instead of just saying you can't do it, do it. And man, it's been the hardest thing I've ever had to walk through. I mean, so many things were very, very, very difficult. But as with anything, breaking those cycles, it gets easier over time. It's always really, really hard at first, but you know, I've come a long way. And freedom and victory is my two favorite words right now. So, and I'm very happy to be walking in those things.
That's awesome. I'm so glad to like see videos of you every once in a while on Facebook where you're sharing stuff like this and
Yeah.
you're proclaiming freedom and grace, and it's just exciting and rewarding and so much so much deeper so when it's a friend of yours too. So it's really
Thank you. Appreciate it.
you bet. And now after a moment of being seriousness, I need to bring some brevity to the situation. I didn't plan on this, but I always keep my leather jacket around this
Yeah.
here, so I need to match your leather jacket with
Mm,
hoodie underneath,
let's go.
And
That's a dangerous thing to do in Texas, man. I mean, you might start sweating to death,
I'm
I'm
in.
in Pueblo, Colorado right now, so this is appropriate. But
Oh
you
yeah,
put that on in Texas, you
no,
might heat stroke.
it wasn't too long. It was kind of cold down here, so
Like for 5 minutes.
yeah, yeah. We actually had a little bit of snow this year. I think it was
Are
last
you
year. Not even.
serious?
Yeah.
I know it didn't cut out the whole power of the state like it usually does.
No, it didn't collapse
I didn't
everything.
do that.
Yeah.
Okay. All
So that
right,
was
good.
atrocious.
Yeah, that was bad.
So what led to putting out a deluxe version of Skeleton Psalms?
I think that's always kind of like an idea that we have, you know, lately. We did it for Love Letter Kill Shot as well. We've always had this trend of writing way too many songs, and so we'll end up putting 12, 13, 14 songs on an album. I mean, we did that album way back in 2001, by God, that had 21 songs on it. And we've always had that thing where we just kind of like we just, we wrote a song, so we feel like it has to go on the album. And it's only taken decades to figure out you don't have to do that. And plus, like your record contract, it only pays you for the first 10 anyway. And so you're literally giving away songs for free. And so we just thought, man, why do we keep doing this to ourselves? It takes so long to put this many songs out. It costs way much more money. Let's just put 10 songs out. And then, so that's what we did. We put 10 songs out for Skeleton Songs, but we had all these other songs that we hadn't finished yet. And so instead of them being like traditional B-sides, songs that weren't good enough to make the record, these were really just songs that we didn't finish yet. So we had this song that just came out last year called If You Say So, that'll be on the deluxe. And we had a song just come out a couple weeks ago called Sound the Alarm, that'll be on the deluxe. And then the Resurrecting Reasons with TJ. And then there's going to be a couple newer two more new songs, and then 6 live tracks. And so yeah, it was always an idea that we had, and it's kind of a way for us to go back and finish some of the songs that we didn't get around to because we're always writing. I mean, I bet there were 40 ideas, not complete songs, but 40, verse chorus ideas or this thing or that thing. Um, and you know, sometimes you love an idea, you just don't get around to actually working on it, or you don't have the right lyrics for it yet. Like Andrew's got a song right now that's the most killer music bed I think I've ever heard in demo form. And I've written lyrics to it, and I'm like, it doesn't match the music. The lyrics aren't good enough. We're gonna have to just keep going. So, that's that kind of thing. Sometimes it just takes effort, like, to try to and that's pressure too, especially when you love a track, you're trying to like, oh, this music's so good, and now I've got to write lyrics and melodies that kind of match the level. And it's easier said than done. So we're just going to keep plugging away. But anyway, that's where the idea came from to answer your question. It's always kind of back there.
I honestly don't know how you do that. For me, it's always been lyrics come first and the song matches forms around the lyrics. But
Yeah.
the other way around is just, it's a mystery to me. I don't know how.
Yeah. Every song's different. Not every song is that way. Like with Resurrecting Reasons, it all just happened organically all at the same time. And that's very rare. But like with songs, what we're talking about, like with Andrew being a guitar player, he's not much of a uh lyricist, but even though he does write lyrics every once in a while, so his forte is like putting together, music. And so whenever me or Josiah will write lyrics to stuff that he writes, the way I approach it is just kind of, how does this music make me feel? Because feeling is like is number one to me. I could say those lyrics you just said, Resurrecting Reasons, I could say them to you, and when someone hears, poetry or just words, it'll make you feel a little bit. But when you say those exact words with melody and with music, music just has the ability and power to just literally break down every single wall around your heart. And like now it went past your ears, past your mind, and into your soul. Your soul is now paying attention, those same exact words with the music. Your soul's now paying attention. And so I try to think of like, what is this music saying to my soul? And then like, okay, that's what I want to write about, you know. So I mean, if he's got some kind of like kickstart my heart Motley Crue sounding song, me going into like some sad story about, whatever, that's not what it makes my soul feel like, right?
Yeah.
So it's gotta it's definitely got to match that feeling that you get, that it gives you when you hear it. At least that's how I do it.
Yeah. That's cool. Thanks for the insight. So you've already touched on it quite a bit, but so I'm just going to have you elaborate on this question. What is some of the bonus material we'll get to hear?
So yeah, there's a remix of The Executioner. This a guy that does EDM remixes. He's a friend of ours, and he was like, "Man, I'd love to do it." And I mean, that's not my thing. And I'm like, "Okay." So he let me hear it. I was like, "Wow, that's actually really cool."
Really?
Uh, so that was interesting and awesome. And then we did this CD release show called Skelevision, and so six of the live tracks will be from that performance. And so three of the live songs are songs from Skeleton Psalms, and then the other three songs, I'll just tell you. I'm not telling anybody else, but I'll tell you. I kept it a mystery from other interviews. I'll give you the inside scoop. Um, we're doing we're releasing live versions of some of our older songs. Um, One is "Oh God Save Us All," and one is "Long Live the Rebels." Because I didn't, I love the song "Long Live the Rebels," but I didn't like the way that the album version turned out. You know how that happens.
Yeah.
Sometimes you love a song, but it just didn't turn out as good as you wanted. But this live version of it's really good. And
Hmm.
then we also did a live version of an old Disciple song, "I Just Know." And so I think a lot of old school Disciple fans are really gonna love that, having a live version of that. So that's
Bet.
fun.
I bet. Bet. Well, let's shift gears again and talk about suicide for a moment. A good friend of mine, John, has played bass with me for decades in the band Lust Control. He works for the state and he puts together files and cases for suicides and homicides. Every day, that's his job. He's putting together, like, he gets the data and he puts together a case to file with the state. And he told me that in Texas, there are over 3,000 suicides per year. That's almost 10 every day. And that is so disheartening. What is your message for those that are hurting and have suicidal ideations?
Man, I'll be real honest with you. I'm even wearing this shirt right now.
Yeah.
We wrote a song about this on Skeleton Psalms, and so I'm gonna be real vulnerable and honest with you. We've had songs in the past, like songs like Invisible or After the World, that were about suicide. And Josiah wrote this song called Promise to Live. And when it was in its original form, it was like a verse that was really good and a chorus that kind of was okay and a bridge that was really good, which ended up being the song Promise to Live. And I was like, let's keep working on that chorus. I was like, that verse is incredible. That bridge is incredible. Let's keep working on that chorus. And so him and Andrew got together and they were like, oh, Kevin used to have a message where he would kind of encourage people um, at shows to make a promise to live if you're struggling with suicide or whatever, um, to make a promise to live. And honestly, they finished out the song and it was really, really great. But I wasn't that excited about writing a song about suicide because I felt like we had done it already. You know what I mean? You just kind of don't want to keep doing the same things over and over again. That's where I was feeling. But I was like, this song is undeniable. It's really good. So let's do it. So then we got the opportunity to play Winter Jam. And we were like, well, this album's way too heavy for Winter Jam. We don't have any songs. We have this one song, Promise to Live. We could probably play at Winter Jam. So let's play that. Literally, that's how much disrespect I was giving to this song. Okay.
Mhm.
And so we go and we play it. And we had this content made for it where people, could see the words to the song while we were playing it. And every single night, and I say that accurately, every single night, someone came up to the sales table after we were done and said, I was going to kill myself today, but I decided to come to this show instead. And I heard that song and I make a promise to live. Or I was going to do it after the show, heard that song, made a promise to live. Or this is my husband. He's tried to commit suicide 4 times. He needed that song. He made a promise to live tonight. See him 4 months later. They come back to a show. This is my husband. Just want to let you know that that change that happened in his life that night, it was a lasting thing. It wasn't just a concert experience. He's still here. He's still fighting. He's still going strong. Um, yeah, I just didn't know. Like that stat you just said, I didn't know. And it's kind of like, I love that because it's just kind of God doing his thing. And even last night, somebody told me that, that they were planning on doing it and they had Spotify on shuffle and the algorithm just had the song pop up
Hmm.
and they pulled over and gave their life to Jesus and made a promise to live. And um, yeah, I mean, where was I when it was? I had nothing to do. Like that's just God doing His thing. I had nothing to do with some Spotify algorithm. So it's like I played this small part and even kind of fought it in a lot of ways, and was on the wrong side of the thing. And God was like, no, this needs to happen. This is a message that needs to happen. This is what is right now. People are struggling with this right now and need to know. And so that's a long way around to answering your question, but the real answer is like I believe with all my heart that we all not only are made in the image of God, but we have purpose. Like we are here for a reason. And that voice that's telling us to end it is very loud and is very convincing. And I've heard that voice, and it's not fun, when you hear that voice, and because it is so convincing and so deceiving. It feels so right. But there's this other voice that's giving you the truth. And sometimes it's hard to hear that voice, but one's true and one's a lie. And the truth is that you are created in the image of God and your life does matter and you do have purpose. And the whole reason that you woke up this morning is because God's not finished with your life yet. And He has a reason for you being here. And I have been very, very honored to give that message for the last 2 years, and just kind of see what it's doing. And so I hope that we can play a part in those numbers coming down.
Wow. That is so cool to hear about you playing a part in that and having a role, just being a willing vessel and watch God do His thing. That's like a little miracle
Well,
there.
yeah, yeah, it really is, especially when you kind of see like how like the longer I do this, the more I realize like I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm not I'm not very good at certain things, and like that, I mean, it's just like there's always the idea of like trying to write something, good or write something that performs well or whatever. And then there's just writing what God wants you to do, you know what I mean? That is makes no sense to metrics or finances or record labels or any of those other questions. It's like, what's the message that God wants to say right now?
Hmm.
And I mean, when you get around to asking that question, and obviously I wasn't asking it very well, and so he just decided to just go ahead and do it anyway. And I love that. I love that. So yeah, I really love that story because it was kind of in spite of me, you know. I don't get
Yeah,
to really take very much credit for it, and I actually love that.
that's awesome. It you used a phrase that I want to makes me want to share a story. You used the word about a loud voice. And the guy who led me back to the Lord, I was a prodigal son and came back to Jesus at age 20. And that summer that I came back to the Lord, I had a friend uh, who was praying and fasting for me. He was weeping over the condition of my soul in his prayer. And one time when he
Mhm.
came to live with me about a year or two later in Austin, and one time I was criticizing him about something. I was pointing out some of his problems, and he looked at me. He said, "Please be very quiet about my problems to me and loud with God." And
Wow.
it's such a cool phrase and such a cool like formula for intercession. You know, talk to God like it matters, like it really bothers you. You know, be loud. That's inspiring.
Wow. That's good.
It was really cool to have breakfast with you here and your bus parked outside our house recently. I have so much respect for you for not tiring of doing good. And I mean, I'm sure you've gotten tired doing it, but you've kept moving on. How have you done that?
Um, Literally, yeah, I've obviously shared this answer with you before. I know that I was called to do this. It's not. It's not that I'm so special or anything like that. It's almost just, when you know that you're called to do something, you just kind of you burn the boats to everything else. I mean, I could probably take somebody's order at a drive-through, but I don't know that I could even do that very well. So I've just burned the boats to all the other possibilities. People will say stuff like, "Oh man, you could be a pastor someday," and it's like, no, that boat's burned. Or you could do this, or you could do that, or whatever. It's like, this is what I know I'm supposed to do. And so, there's obviously been times where there's been band members that leave or whatever, and it's very, very tempting to just quit and not go on and know that all the uncertainty that lies with like pressing forward with um, people you don't know is very difficult. And I've been so blessed that these men that have been in the band for the last 13 years are my best friends in the world. I mean, like we're hanging out in Pueblo, Colorado today, and we don't try to escape each other. We try to hang out together, and um, it's a very, very refreshing type of environment, to be in and have this thing, like where like even a band, one of the guys last night was like, man, hey man, it was really good tonight. I appreciate, what you said. Just these little things, that they're very small, but they mean so much. We're really, really big fans of each other. And I think that has helped for sure. But, you know, um, it's just what I know I'm supposed to do. And I know that there'll probably be a day that I don't do it very well anymore. And I'll probably have to figure out, well, what are you wanting me to do now? And whenever that day comes, I'll figure it out. But for right now, I mean, I think I'm as talented as I've always been, but the guys that are around me are 10 times more talented than I am. And so we're operating at a pretty high clip right now. So that feels good.
Awesome. There's a question I've never asked you, and it's my last question. And after that, I'll let you say anything you want. But why don't you tell me about the
Anything I
guys?
want. Okay.
Tell me about the guys you're with. Describe your band members to me. Tell me about them.
Um, well, I mean, I don't even know how to say it succinctly. Andrew, we'll start with Andrew Stanton. He is a guitar player I met in Germany and was recommended to me. He used to be in a band called I Am Empire. And he is probably one of the sweetest, nicest guys I've ever met. I think he's sinned maybe 8 times in the last 13 years. I think that's all he's gotten, maybe eight, maybe 7.5 is the only sins he's committed in the last 13 years. I mean, he's just a good guy, and it sounds like I'm mocking him or making fun of him, which is kind of one of my talking points in one of my messages here lately. Is like, that's kind of silly to make fun of somebody for being good. And I'm actually not. I'm building him up. He's such a sweet, nice guy. And he's so, so good at guitar. Eddie Van Halen is his hero. And, so he just comes from that. He's 12 years younger than me, but he's an old soul when it comes to guitar playing. So he's all that guitar playing that I love, and grew up with, the late 70s and 80s, whatever. So, wonderful human, also a great producer and produces a lot of Christian rock bands. Josiah, is another guitar player that was recommended to me almost from the same people that recommended Andrew. And he was in a Christian punk band called Philmont, and he was already leaving that band. Um, and when I found him, and he was playing his last show with Philmont, and I went and watched him play, and he was just like, he looked like a Christian pop punk band of what they would look like in 2011 or 2012. He was very handsome and clean cut and wearing Tom's shoes and whatever, and just kind of just had that look, right? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know if he is absolutely. one of the funniest, one of my favorite people in the world. Just he is so funny. He is so magnetic. We all love him. He makes any situation better. Also, he's also one of those guys that makes you sick that he's good at things, but then he gets better at them.
Hmm.
You know, like I'm kind of like where I am, and I don't really get better. I'm just where I am. He gets better. Like where he was guitar playing 12 years ago, and then just kind of being around Andrew and kind of me saying things like, "Hey, listen to the Stevie Ray Vaughan album, whatever you do, right?" And I'm like, "Check
Yeah.
this out." And he just keeps growing and keeps getting better, and then he starts producing, and now he's producing all these bands, and he's produced, our last two well, our Honor and Glory album and the Skeleton Psalms album, he produced those. I mean, he's one of those guys. He just gets better at everything he does.
I see his name a lot.
And I'm happy to say what
I see his name a lot.
he
Credits and
does.
stuff.
He does a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
and I'm happy to say that he now he looks like a hippie, and he has very long hair and a massive beard. He looks like Jim Morrison and Jim Morrison's, experimental phase. And yeah, so the punk rock look is gone for him, and he he looks awesome. Uh, Joey is our drummer, and Joey is one of my best friends in the world. We are very similar. Me and Joey are very similar. So he's somebody that our struggles and our weaknesses, come from the same place. And so he's a very special person to me because he's somebody that I confide in, and we can talk, about things and have really long conversations and kind of share with each other our struggles. And man, that's necessary, in life to have that kind of person, that loves you and that you love them and you don't judge them, and you're there for each other no matter what that person ends up telling you, right? And he is that for me. He's one of my favorite humans, and he's so good at drums. We toured with a band called After Edmund. That was the band that he was in, and he was a good drummer. I didn't know that he was a metalhead. Just from watching him play with this band. His favorite band is Slipknot, and so he just loves all these things where there's way too many drums involved. He loves that kind of thing. And so what the guys will try to do is they'll try to write demos with impossible drum parts just to kind of just as funny, as almost like a gauntlet, a challenge, like, oh, can you play this? And he always, it's the same thing every time. He's like, oh man, guys, why'd you have to do that? I can't play that. And then of course he ends up playing it, right?
Wow.
So he's just a phenomenal drummer. And one of the best things that I love about these guys, let me say one more. So Dane is a guy that's kind of joining our band. Dane is the lead singer of Loyals, and he's 20 times the singer that I will ever be. He's one of those guys who could like, make it to the final rounds of American Idol type of singer,
Yeah.
and can sing about 6 notes higher than I can. He's just so talented,
Hmm.
such a great songwriter and a great friend. And he's in Honor and Glory, and so he's been kind of transitioning and playing bass for Disciple and singing, with Disciple and stuff. And so that's been fun. And he's one of our favorite people in the world as well. And so the last thing I'll say about all of them is we've been hanging out with Brad Noah a lot over the past year, who is
Oh,
our original
really?
guitar player, and Brad Noah very well.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I can say about all these new guys is they really love and appreciate where Disciple has been and are huge fans of Brad and just adore him. I mean,
Hmm.
as everyone who meets
Yeah.
Brad
Who
does.
doesn't? Yeah.
Yeah, they just adore him. And so there is this amazing thing that they have, that we are creating all these new things that are different and new and really true to who we are, but they have this really amazing respect for whatever Disciple has done in the past. And there's not this weird feeling that I did feel with other band members where there was this maybe competition or kind of like level of like needing to prove themselves. It's like, if Big Bad Wolf or I Just Know gets on the set list, these guys are stoked. You know what I mean? They're not like, let's play something we wrote. No, they
Yeah.
love that stuff. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And that's a really cool feeling, to be able to be in a band with guys who really respect not only what we're doing now, but also what we've done. So they're my best friends in the world. So that's as succinct as it's going to get, and it wasn't succinct at all.
That's good. That's good. Well, I hope I've served you well with this interview. Is there something I haven't brought up you want to talk about, or is there anything you want to say?
Oh no, man. No, man. It's just good to connect with you again. See your face. It's a nice jacket. It's a very
Thank you,
nice
sir.
jacket.
I
Yes,
got this
sir.
free from
You did.
Star Song Records. It's got the liner on the inside, so it's really heavy.
So that thing's 40 years old, 30 years old.
30, yeah, I got it in 90, 91. So yeah,
Wow, bro. It looks
34 years
good for
old.
30 years old.
Yeah,
Man, those were the days when Star Song, Pure Metal.
yeah, yeah.
Was Pure Metal what White Cross was on?
They were on Pure Metal before Star Song bought them. But
So, so check this out. I mean, like that record label, I mean, that's what changed my life. White Cross was the first album I ever received. And then This Means War was like very close behind. And those two bands, I mean, if there's any two bands that really formed my philosophy and the way that I want to do music, whatever, it's those two. The way that they would talk about Jesus in their songs, or the way that they would, handle their shows or talk about Jesus from the stage, like that modeling, like there could not be any more, you know, two bands that shaped me. It's those two, really. Like everything we do, it's almost like a continuation. It's almost like Petra chapter two, or White Cross
yeah,
chapter two.
yeah.
Like that's what we are for sure.
I don't know if you remember backstage at the HM tent at Cornerstone when we were doing a
I do.
DVD and Scott Wenzel was like had you and his arm around you, said this is the new generation. This is the guy that's carrying it on. And I
Yeah.
affirm that like God's anointing is on you and his plan
Oh, thanks,
is
man.
is you and using you and keep doing it, brother. You're a blessing.
Thank you, man. Yeah. We just played some shows with Petra last year and White Cross
Yeah.
last year, and got to sing on stage with Petra. You have no idea what 12-year-old me shows up fast,
I, I
hop
I
on
was looking at
stage,
your face. I saw the video of that this morning actually on Facebook
bro.
again.
And here's what's funny. John Schlitt asked me, he's like, "Hey, man, you want to sing Beyond Belief with us tonight?" And the answer is yes, except that's not one of the songs that I actually know by heart,
Yeah.
Like there's about 40 other songs that I can just tell you just, every
Mhm.
single word, note, whatever. But Beyond
Yeah.
Belief is not one that I actually knew the lyrics to. So I had to sit over their side stage, nervous out of my mind, like listening to the song while they're performing,
I
like
bet.
trying to learn this whole entire verse, of
Wow.
Beyond Belief. And the lyrics are weird on that song. They're not normal.
Really?
Like where the road seems hard to hoe or whatever it is, it's like what, or
Yeah.
where the row seems hard, like, but I didn't know these were the lyrics.
Huh.
And I'm over here just trying, whatever. So I was nervous, but I was totally stoked
That's
about
cool.
it.
I need to
So
hit
anyway.
stop on here. We got less than a minute, so I'm gonna. Thanks, brother.